What is up, Soul Fam? It's Sandal from Substance Over Star, and today I want to talk to you about my experience at Floatworks London. So I was invited by someone I know who works there to experience the flotation tank, and I'd been wanting to try this for ages. It's actually a very interesting manifestation story, because I remember I was on the bus driving through London, and I think I passed the one that they have. I don't know if it's Floatworks, but they had some kind of flotation centre in Old Street. And I remember floating past it on the bus and seeing it and going, oh, that would be great. Wouldn't it be great if I could maybe contact them to do a collaboration? And then the next day, a friend of mine told me that he was applying for a job there, and that if he got it, he would book me in for a free session because they were wanting to work with some influencers. And it was actually a different friend who ended up contacting me a week later to actually book me in, and I don't know if they'd actually spoke about it. They may have spoken about it because they do know each other, but yeah, it was just interesting how I sent that thought out to the universe, and then the next day the wheels in motion started to move. So yeah, just to let you know, I'm not being sponsored, and you know, I didn't even discuss any kind of exchange with them. They just invited me to try it, and you know, I was very grateful. So I posted about it on my Instagram, and I want to share my experience with you because I think it will be helpful to the soul tribe that we've built here. You know, because everybody here seems to be interested in mindfulness and consciousness expansion. And if you don't know anything about flotation therapy, it's basically sensory deprivation. So you kind of strip off everything and you go into a tank. It's like a very futuristic looking tank, and it has there's a light in there, and they play some music for a while, and you just basically float in water, and the water's basically filled with, you know, Epsom salts and just really, really high concentration of salts, so that you float, so that you definitely don't sink. So yeah, what it does is that once the light goes out, then, you know, you stay there for about an hour, and it's really interesting what happens when, you know, you lose awareness of, you know, just your physical body and where you are, because, you know, you can't see anything because it's pitch black, you can't hear anything. They also give you ear plugs if you want, that you can use to block out any sound. And you can't really feel much because the water's set to the same temperature as like the air temperature. So you literally start becoming one with everything. You start becoming just a pure point of consciousness. And it has all kinds of benefits, you know, in terms of like relieving stress, similar benefits to meditation, even more so because you're kind of removing I don't know about you, but I struggle to meditate, especially sitting up. I'm not like a regular meditator. Sitting up meditation, I just can't deal with, you know, sitting like that and the discomfort of it all. I'm just really not that disciplined, I have to be honest. So if you're somebody who wants to try mindfulness practice, but you don't really like the discomfort of sitting up like that, then it might be something that you might want to look into. But I will say, if you're somebody who is prone to claustrophobia, and also if you're prone to anxiety or panic attacks, I would probably be cautious, because when I was in there, I do remember thinking this is kind of a bit spooky, like being in this little chamber. And then I started thinking about, oh, this wouldn't be good if, you know, somebody's claustrophobic. You know, I was just like, I don't think it would be good to bring my mum here, because my mum suffers from claustrophobia. She's also very much into, you know, mindfulness and meditation. She loves all of that stuff. And I was actually thinking about getting her a session as a birthday present a while ago. And I remember when I was lying in the tank thinking, oh, it wouldn't be good to bring her. I don't think she would like this. She would get really claustrophobic. And then I just started thinking about how it must feel to be claustrophobic. And then I started thinking about this film that I saw called The Golden Egg, which is an Alfred Hitchcock film, where this guy, basically, spoiler alert, his girlfriend goes missing and this guy snatches her, and then he has this whole big media campaign trying to find out what happened to her. And then the guy who basically kidnapped her catches up with him, finds him, tracks him down, and says, I'll tell you what happened to your girlfriend, but you know, if you want to find out what happened to your girlfriend, you're going to have to come with me, and you're going to have to let me take you through all the steps of exactly what happened to her, and then ultimately you have to relive her experience. And he's got such a burning, insatiable curiosity to find out what happened to this, you know, woman that he loved, who he now, you know, hasn't heard hide nor hair of, that he goes with this guy and basically ends up waking up in a coffin buried underground. And it's like so grim and so grisly. And I was thinking about that when I was in the float tank. So then obviously I started getting a little bit of anxiety. I mean, I'm not particularly claustrophobic, but I had to, like, you know, I started not getting a panic attack, but I just started getting anxious, thinking, oh my God, how long has it been? How long do I have to stay in here? I don't know if I can handle this. I get this sometimes when I try and, when I've done meditation with people. Usually when I do meditation by myself, I use like binaural beats or a guided meditation, or I do subliminals or Tibetan singing bowls, or some kind of, I always need some kind of input. And not having any kind of input, just having like sensory deprivation and just being completely alone with your thoughts, I think is definitely a good mindfulness practice, and it's something that we should all practice. I talked about it in one of my other videos in the You Are Not Enough, which I'll link. A lot of us, you know, we're very scared to face the quietness, the silence of, you know, without any distractions, because then we have to listen to the mental chatter that goes on in our own brain. And a lot of the time that's when it reveals a lot of negative self-talk, and that can feel, and I do think that it's something that we should do, but if it's something that kind of fills you with anxiety, maybe you should just try and do like a silent meditation practice just on your own, like don't even do a silent retreat before then graduating to something like a flotation tank, because being inside that tank for an hour, you know, floating in the water, if you have anxiety, I can imagine might be a little bit unpleasant. But I think a lot of other people, like I spoke to one guy who was in the waiting room, and he said it was his first time, and he said it was super relaxing, and that it that the time went a lot faster than he expected it to, which for me it was the opposite. It was like I had to turn the light on, and I kind of sat up, and I was just like, okay, I'm still alive, I'm still human, like I'm not just pure consciousness. And then the solution started to drip onto my face, so I actually had to step out, have a shower, wash the stuff off my face, and then get back into the tank. I don't know at which point that I did this. Maybe I was like in there for 15 minutes, and then I went back in there. And then I found that I felt like I needed to keep on touching the sides of the flotation tank and, you know, just play around with the water quite a lot and like move my body in the water, because I didn't want to lose my sense of self. And I do feel like that's kind of the purpose of it, to like kind of lose your sense of self and just, you know, realize that you are part of just this infinite field of divine energy. And we are, you know, like all the particles that make up our physical body are not actually particles, they're just the singularity of a wave vibrating at different frequencies. I spoke about that in my video on soulmates and soul streams and twin flames and stuff like that. So when you realize that, being in the flotation tank, you're just like, okay, where do I end and the rest of what is not me begin? But it's all you, because, you know, you've got your physical body, then you've got your etheric body, you've got your, you know, all the different layers that make up your etheric, you know, and subtle energy bodies kind of extend quite far beyond your physical body, and then it becomes less and less dense and goes in. But there is no actual real separation. Like, it's not, you know, it's a kind of a false duality that like this is where I am and this is where, you know, this next object is. It's all just the part of the field. We are just part of it all. So, you know, if you want to experience that oneness, I do think that the flotation tank would be a very good practice. And if you're somebody who is quite accustomed to meditating and you're quite good at calming the mind, it would definitely be very beneficial, because it's just super lush, like floating in the water like that. One thing that I did experience was a little bit of physical discomfort to do with my neck. So I felt like my head was like tipping back. Yeah, it was very strange as well, because I found like very strange physical sensations. As soon as I floated in the water, I felt like I didn't know which way. I felt like I was like rotating, not just like this way, but also this way. And it was like I lost my sense of balance. I think it's also because I didn't have the earplugs in, so a lot of the solution went into my ears. So I kind of had no sense of which way was up or down or anything, like, and I think that's part of the reason why I felt like I needed to keep on touching the side, so that I had some kind of orientation. And then I was like kicking off the back and then hitting the top and then just playing around. I was being quite playful in there. I mean, it was fun, don't get me wrong, and, you know, maybe I should have taken it more seriously and tried to just, you know, quiet my mind. But, you know, like I said, my brain just runs at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and I'm just not very good at that. But I would definitely like to try it again. What was I talking about? Sorry, with the neck. Yeah, I felt like my head was tipping backwards. And so when I spoke to Victor, the friend who booked me in, he said that might mean that you have some kind of tension. So usually, you know, it's quite good for physical health, because it can reveal where you might have, you know, any kind of tension, muscular or whatever, like that you're holding on to in your body. So then you can become aware of it. And, you know, one of the guys that I spoke to in the waiting room said that, you know, it's one of his meditative practices, and they do teach this, that, you know, when you're in meditation, if you get an itch or if you get any kind of physical discomfort, if you just breathe into the itch or the, you know, the physical discomfort or whatever, and just really focus intensely on it, it actually dissipates, just like anything. Like, same with thoughts as well. When thoughts come into your mind, if you try and hold on to them too tightly, they will eventually dissipate, because they're not you. We're just the receivers of them. And it does actually work. I remember I tried it once when I was doing a photo shoot, and I was like lying down on the floor, and it was like a close-up beauty, and they wanted to take a picture of my eye, and they put all these different coloured pigments around the eye, and I started getting an itch, but I can't scratch it, because if I scratch it, I'm going to ruin all their work that they've just spent like an hour putting together. So I had to stay still like this, lying on the floor with these pigments on my face for about an hour. And when the itch came, my mum had taught me about this, that, you know, just focus really intensely on the itch. And it did go away actually after a while. Like, you know, the more I focused on it, the less intense it became. So that's a good practice that you can try if you're thinking about doing flotation, or just for your usual mindfulness practice. Why do I keep going like this? I don't meditate like this at all. When I meditate, I lie down on the bed. I get super comfy. I do not want to be like distracted by the body. And I put on some nice music. Because I like nice things. I don't see why we need to make life so hard for ourselves. Just, you know, make life easy, make it comfortable, make it fun. So apparently there's a little donut thing that you can put under your head if you're experiencing discomfort. So I might try that if I go again next time. But yeah, all in all, I definitely enjoyed it, and I think it was a worthwhile experience. But I did want to put the little disclaimer: if you're thinking about doing it and you have any kind of claustrophobia or panic attacks, I'd maybe be a little bit cautious, or just be prepared for the fact that you might, you know, not be able to do the full hour. So yes, else. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment box below. If you have any suggestions for videos that you'd like me to make, I mean, I do have a list that I'm trying to get through at the moment, but you know, you're always welcome to give me suggestions, ask me questions, and I will add them to the list. So yeah, that's it. I think that's a shorter one than usual for today. So I will love you and leave you, and I'll see you in the next video.
You're introduced to LSD, and unless you've taken some other drug, like for instance, like marijuana or something, well, you know, it's an altogether new thing.